Hi, this is Paulo from Drum Bass Academy, and this is how to make basses like Alix Perez and Skeptical. So, this is the reference track. And this is my recreation. Now, before you get started, you can get the project files, including the bass patches, for free in the link in the description below. Also, make sure you get subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to not miss any of our future videos. So now, let's get started. So the first sound that we're going to be creating is this one. And here I'm with an initialized patch with a saw wave, which sounds like this. So let's change that for a sine wave. You should only get sub. And then let's add some harmonics into the sine wave. So for that, let's click on this button to translate the harmonics from a sine wave to the FFT editor. And then let's add our own harmonics. So you should get a waveform that looks like this and sounds like that. So the next thing we're going to do is to go into the FX tab and turn on the distortion so we can actually hear our sound. Now let's set the mode of distortion into diode 1. And let's go back into the oscillator tab and modulate the level of oscillator A with an LFO. And we're going to be creating a falling shape with this LFO. Now make sure you set it on envelope so it triggers every time you hit the note. And let's create a falling shape like this. Now let's make this LFO slower. And fine tune the LFO. Next, let's add a bit of a transient into this sound. So let's use LFO number 2 to modulate the coarse pitch of oscillator A. Make sure you hold Shift and Alt and then click on the modulation to turn it into unipolar. And then create a falling shape that is really short like this. Make sure you set it on envelope. And next, let's go into the effects and put a chorus before the distortion. And as you can see, the chorus is one of the keys for this sound. Now the next thing we gotta do is to change the filter from the chorus from a low pass to a high pass. So we only affect the top harmonics and not the sub. And then let's add some compression and add a bit of gain. And that is the first sound. Now let's hear it in context. And so now let's jump into the next sound. So the next sound that I'm gonna show you is this reverse tail right here. And what this is basically a resampled version of this first bass and reversed. So let's go back into original patch and let's make the tail longer. And let's also make the MIDI longer. And then we're gonna add another channel, then resample our bass. And then selecting the sample, hitting R to reverse it, and fading it in. So now we should get this. And to add a bit more noise into this sound, you can open the sample and double the original tempo. And change the warping mode to complex. Or to complex pro. Or to texture. Just to have a different texture in the sound. So I'm gonna take the sound until here, cut it, and then once again, fade it in. And so now our sequence should sound like this. And we're just gonna repeat that. Now let's listen to all of that in context. And now let's jump into our last bass sound, which is this one. Now the key behind this sound is the wavetable. I used a custom one, which is also included in the project files from this video. Once again, the link is in the description. And the way this wavetable was made is just a bunch of sine waves modulating each other. So you can load 2 sine waves into the oscillators, set FM from B, play with the octave on oscillator B, and then set an LFO to automate the FM amount and set a random modulation like this. Put a bunch of unison. And then hit resample to oscillator A or B. And then you'll get a wavetable. So that is exactly the process that I followed to create this wavetable. And now the next thing we need to do is just to map an LFO into the wavetable position. Make it slower. And then just add a few effects into this modulation. For example, chorus. Some gain with a compressor. You can set this compressor in multiband mode and decrease all the upwards compression from the high band. Set the threshold a bit lower and compensate. Then adding a bit of EQ to accentuate the frequencies that you want, and layering a sub with this. And you can experiment with the different movements that you can get with this LFO. In this case, I'm just gonna leave it default. And now let's listen to this sound in context. So that's it for that bass and also for this video. I hope you liked it and learned something. If you did, make sure you get subscribed to the channel and hit the notification bell to not miss any of our future videos. Join our Discord, follow us on Instagram, and once again, you can get the project files and all of the bass patches from this video in the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.